Next proponent. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Timothy Lopez, TimothyLopez.
Can you speak up just a little
Yes,
bit?
sir. My name is Timothy Lopez, TimothyLopez. I reside at 5203 Walker Avenue. I'm in support for the bill of LB 1208. I am 29 years old. I have been part of the correctional system since I was younger. I first went to SEG at the age of 19. I spent years at times there left all by myself. I had no human contact for long terms of time. I was lost and became more lost in the ways of the mind, altering events. I would start to hear things and start to become part of the world of unconsciousness myself. I started to do things that would get me by flooding and getting the attentions of others just to have some type of human contact. I would deal with the depression from the mind events I would witness. I would stay up at nights because I couldn't sleep, crying for help and needing someone to talk to, just to hear my cries to tell me that it would be okay. But I never had that, and I would have cold sweats at night at times, and I would have nightmares as well too. I would also witness the hearings of loud cries at night, the doors creaking, screamings all night. I would become part of this. I was left alone one day when I was feeling suicidal, and I would later that night make an attempt at my own life. I hung myself in my cell on August 14, 2015. I was already dealing with mental health issues and was trying to get someone to help me in segregation with them. This would leave me in a coma. I had to learn how to ride again, walk again, talk again, brought back to normalcy, not to just live life, but to complete a prison sentence and enter right back into segregation after release from the hospital onto an all-metal bed with no mattress, pillow, but a security smock and an IV cord. I would witness people playing with their fecal matters to pass time, and these type of conditions became the norm of so many. I would try to just sit here to see if I can get help with my mental health issues. It doesn't take months. It doesn't take months to lose your mind in segregation, but yet it could take minutes or seconds. It doesn't take years to commit suicide or months, but yet minutes or seconds. I still to this day have psychological issues when my doors are closed in my room. I get paranoid like I'm left behind again with no one to talk to. And I start to feel anxiety in me and paranoid, like I'm being left behind again. And no one would talk to me, and if no one would talk to me, I would start to feel down and paranoid about it all. I would sit in my bed for long periods of time, just hoping that someone would come and open my door for me to get out. It would take me long periods of time before I get to the consciousness to have the ability to know that it's my door I can control to open it. The voices in my head would become the product of my life throughout the time in segregation, but it would go away when I was released out of segregation and had time in general population to readapt. We were like Tom Hanks in Castaway, just needing somebody like Little Wilson to help us get through this time. A little bit of human contact would help my friend Patrick. The life of a human being is more than a job. This may be one day your loved one. Imagine how you would feel. And please, just help by passing this bill. Who is next? We all matter. We all matter. Patrick matters. Thank you.
Mr. Lopez,
Yes, sir.
did you lose a friend?
Yes.
Was he in restricted housing?
He was dealing with a lot of psychological issues and things as well. A lot of us have pre-mental health issues before we go in there. I was taken away from my mom as a kid, and I heard my own mom tell me that she didn't want me as a kid. And when you're placed in restricted housing, it's a reoccurrence of the abandonment all over again. And it leads to other things. You start to be paranoid because you're trapped. It's like a fish that can grow to 10 feet. When you put it in a 3-foot tank, it only grows to the capacity of what that tank will allow it to. And a lot of people will say that we're childish and things for the things that we do, but you understand when your mind starts to deteriorate, your maturity level goes down as well. and and Patrick was dealing with staph infection and MRSA as well, and dealing with those type of things. There was times when I witnessed him having loud screams about pains in him prior to his assault on the correctional employee that led to him going in there. I was close to him, and he mattered too, man. It's not about me, but it's about those that lost their life and the ones that will lose them if this ain't passed.
Mr. Lopez, how much time did you spend in restrictive housing?
I'll say roughly about 6 years. I did 2010 to about 2012, and then I did from about 2012 to 2013, 2014 to 2016, from 2016 to 2017. I understand that there's violence that leads to segregation. And I'll be the first to admit I was a very violent inmate, and I would harm people. I was very vulnerable to the manipulation of the gangs as a kid and became subject to that and would conduct the assaults on their behalves. During this process of time, I would start to deteriorate more and be more vulnerable to the manipulation aspect of these things. And in those times of being isolated, you start to deteriorate more, which led to attempted suicide in 2015, attempted suicide twice in 2016, all because I had remorse for that. I went on several hunger strikes and protests for the lack of mental health, lack of institutional control, a lack of human contact. I went on hunger strike for 7 days, 10 days, and 20 days. It was down to 187 pounds within a month and a half, and still no one would come and provide me. It wasn't until after my attempted suicide in 2015, after those protests, that somebody would come to help me. But even then, it was read a book if you want to get by. Placed into another segregation cell on an all-sheet metal bed with no mattress, no pillow, a security smock, and an IV in my arm, just to give me enough to survive, but yet to be comfortable with life. When I had a question about why I was only given a security smock and wake up crying and couldn't barely walk, because I had to learn this. I crushed my trachea and esophagus from all this process. They would tell me, we're under supervision so we could leave an IV in your arm. I said, well, can I get a mattress and pillow? They said, no. Anybody who doesn't understand or think that this is not a problem are disconnected from humanity and themselves. Us humans are more than a job. We really are. It's just like if a dog bites somebody, they place them into a kennel for quarantine and do assessments right away on them to see if they're a danger or isolated incident. The key word of their segregational status is long term. And they say we'll assess you through that time. There's no human contact to assess us through that time. They go off if you get a misconduct report and leave you in there. And that's not right. Just if somebody could have talked to Patrick that day, he would probably be here too.
Senator DeBoer's got a question for you.
Yes.
How long have you been released now?
About 3 weeks now, man.
And how are you doing?
I'm slowly getting there, but by the support of entities that I've been a part of, as well as the support from Michael House and Miss Melissa, it really helps me by. Every day she checks on me to make sure that I'm doing okay, asks if I need assistance with anything, if I need any help, make sure I contact her and everything else. She's very supportive in the things that I do on trying to build and become better. And it's slowly an adjustment. There's times like, for instance, I went to go set up a bank account. And when I set up the bank account, I went into the bank and asked to use the bathroom, but their doors automatically locked. And I was in there crying because I couldn't get out. And ultimately, it took a minute for me to try to see how I could get out. And it's traumatizing. It hurts because ultimately, all that anxiety from the past and the triggers of reoccurrence all comes back to those moments. And the best way for me to try to focus is just to relax and realize what's the task at hand. But a lot of times the anxiety is overwhelming to it all. And it leads to us doing dumb things, ultimately. Yes, there's things that happen in seg. As you see those pictures are real. That's not a fake image. It's real. And it takes seconds to deteriorate in there. Those walls close in on you, and it squeezes you, and you suffocate, and it's hard to breathe. Your heart paces up, and it's no wonder why you don't suffocate from just lack of oxygen in there, because it traps you. Those days that they do cell extractions on those people, they spray the OC chemical agencies in there, and it toxicizes everybody else outside of just the individuals that it's in. And it affects us, and it burns us. There's so many things that they can do to help us through this process in time, but they don't. They say they're overwhelmed. Oh, I've been here for 12 hours. I'm sitting in the office. I'm not doing nothing. Oh, there's not enough staff. I was on a triple escort full restraint process. I've been on almost every segregation status you could have. There was times that they told me I couldn't shower or I couldn't make it to the yard because they didn't have enough staff on the triple escort full restraints to take me to the shower. And to take me to the
Senator
yard.
Hansing Brooks has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I appreciate your coming. Number one, it's courageous of you to come forward at this point. It's pretty early since your release, and so I know it's gotta be really hard, and I hope you continue on a positive path.
Yes.
Do you have a suggestion? Because our duty is to also protect staff, and we want to protect staff.
Yes.
So do you have some sort of vision how your case could have been handled better if you were assaultive to staff? What is it that could have been done differently that would have helped you to be able to maybe heal a little bit more, or be able to handle your anger or frustration or gang involvement or whatever it is that caused you to become assaulted? Help us to know, because we have to keep inmates safe.
Exactly.
We want to keep staff safe as
Yes,
well.
ma'am. See, the training process of staff are to train machines versus humans at times. Those staff come in.
The training, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
A lot of times it's like a machine versus a human. Their contact with us are very minimal. If they say something that may be of sensitive nature or to agree with that, they're automatically a corrupt or dirty staff. I've witnessed staff because I've had good rapport with a lot of them as I grew up in there, and I'm like their institutional child, as they would say. There would be times that staff has the skills and tangibles to become more of what they've done, and they won't allow them. They'll put limitations. They'll try to go to the administrations, to the places to try to do more, to try to get more involved with things, and they'll tell them no because they believe it will lead to a personal level. I've witnessed several staff quit their jobs, tell them I'm leaving. Why? Because I can't do what I want to do here. I'm a caseworker, but ultimately I have to be just a cop. I can't do caseworker work. I'm here to type in the computer and do count rather than do therapy and build projects with people. If you look at like LCC, when I left there, almost every housing unit in general population had designs and things formulated in them. The segregation was still the dark place. Ultimately, bright colors, ultimately things in there can lower the moods. Also, mind altering things for positiveness can bring them back to that. The interactions with staff and allowing them to be humans together, even if it's in a dialogue with other individuals, it becomes better. I witnessed a staff that was in my perception, very rude and disrespectful at times, helped facilitate a program. And during that facilitation of the program, that staff was a human and not a staff member or a machine. And a lot of people had a different perspective of that. More engagement with programs with the inmates, allow them to see their perspective, allow them to be vulnerable and state the things in there. Vulnerability leads to comfortability and new possibilities, and we can connect.
So were you released straight from solitary?
No, ma'am. I was released from the Diagnostic and Evaluation Center.
Okay.
I was returned back to the Diagnostic and Evaluation Center from work release for an investigation that later got cleared up.
Okay, and were you in segregation during your last stay at D&E or?
No, I wasn't. Yes, I was. So there was a situation that happened when I was returned back to D&E. There was a process that goes in there, and this will explain as to how there's a disconnectedness from there. I witnessed another inmate throw a deodorant bottle at another inmate, and the staff come running in on an ERT call with their spray out, cussing vulgarly, "Get the F on the ground now, all y'all!" Sprays in people's faces just like this, talking about get down on the ground. Like it's a game to them. Like it's fun to harm others. Like their chemical agency, putting it in the guy's face, all over another guy throwing a deodorant bottle in the house. You know, like get out now. I'm not effing playing. That's traumatizing. That hurts us, and you wonder why we get in uproars. I understand staff are harmed, and I feel bad for every staff that I ever hurt. I have remorse for that. A lot of times their actions trigger the reactions from other individuals. Their safety matters too, as well as ours. And I'm more than willing to work with anybody to try to help come up with a program to develop those type of skills for communication.
So did you get programming or mental health help or any of that?
During segregation, no, not until after my attempted suicide when they opened up the secure mental health program at the Lincoln Correctional
So
Center.
you'd been there 7 years, basically. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yes, ma'am. It was 2009, but in 2016, I met somebody who was within the Department of Corrections who really helped me transform my life. She was my mental health practitioner. Her name was Crystal Kirby, and she helped me through so much processes and stuff. She wouldn't give up on me like the rest of the staff would. She would fight with me through every process. When I felt harmful, she lowered herself down to help build me up. A lot of times the intentions of people when they come in through this process is they're already up here trying to pull us up there, but if we're too deep, they can't pull us out, so they just run off from it rather than making road.
We all need people like that in our lives, and I think that your story is just indicative of how we are not doing corrections well, how we are not making our communities or our staff situations safer. If we would be less focused on retribution and punishment and more focused on love and compassion and kindness to those that are workers as well as those who are within our prisons, it's time to change this method. It is not working. So I'm sorry that you've been through all this, and that's I'm done. Thank you. Sorry.
I don't see any other questions for you. Mr. Lopez, thanks for being here. Next proponent.
That's empty.